When most people start their first full-time job, they think that money will solve all their problems, especially their financial problems. But what usually happens? Your paychecks get bigger and somehow your bank account stays the same. The truth is that building wealth doesn't start when you start making six figures. It starts with the habits you build when you get your first paycheck. In fact, if using this framework that I'm about to show you, you can realistically stack 10K by the end of this year. So I'm talking from mid-July to the end of December 2026. You can save up to $10,000, even maybe even more, depending on how aggressive you save and also how much money you make. Now, 10K by December may sound like a massive climb, and that's roughly $1,600 a month or about $400 a week. But I don't want to just give you a random saving tip or a random saving number. I want to give you the blueprint that makes that exact number achievable and helps you make smarter decisions with your money for the rest of your life. I call this the brick by brick savings framework because hitting a goal like 10K isn't just about making one big lucky decision. It's more about making intentional and strategic small decisions and habits that compound over time. So with that being said, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow this channel so that we can help others. I do this out of the kindness of my heart. I've always had a passion for sharing not just career advice, but financial advice and any advice that I can give to those that may be coming up after me. And I pray that it reaches you and that this video finds its target audience. Let's jump into the first tip. Don't save what's left over, save first. A lot of times we see in videos, they say pay yourself first. And I agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Many times we get our checks, we start to pay bill collectors, we start to pay, we pay off that, we pay the house, we pay car notes, we pay insurance, we pay apartment or rent, we pay wherever our bills are, we start to pay those first. I say if you are able to, you pay yourself first. You take that number, depending on how often you get paid. You take that either $400 if you get paid weekly or $1,600 if you get paid monthly. You put that to the side or you put that into your savings account. And then you start to pay out everything else. You start to set aside money for dinner and food, set aside money for gas and for bills. Obviously, you have the bills that you have to pay. So those need to be paid because we don't want you on the street. However, I will say there are some things that you can flex on. Maybe you don't need to eat out as many times this month, or maybe you can't eat out as much as you want to between now and December. You can't hang out with the friends every weekend. Maybe it's once or twice a month. So pay yourself first. A way to make this easy for you, especially if you find yourself lacking willpower in this aspect or in this area in life, is to automate those savings. One thing I did when I first got my I guess adult job or big boy job, if you want to call it that, was I took a small percentage, I believe it was $100, and I moved it to a separate bank account. So each week that $100 automatically went over into another bank account. I could see the bank account grow, but I've never ever really wanted to spend it. It was like money that I didn't even have, just accumulating. So if there's any way you can automate your savings with your employer or some way you can do it through the bank, which there are with most banks, every time you get paid from your employer, you pull money or have them pull money automatically into a savings account. And that way you're saving without even thinking about it. You're saving without even having to go in and manually push buttons or take the money out and put it in a savings account. And that'll make it a lot easier for you. And automation will remove willpower from the equation, which 9 times out of 10, that's where most people fail, is their willpower isn't strong enough. Now, the second tip that I want to give you is a little bit different, but we all go through it, including myself, and that is to avoid lifestyle inflation. If you're going from one opportunity to another where you've significantly grown your finances, it can be extremely difficult to continue those same old habits once you start making a lot of money. So let's put this into an example. You finally get that $10,000 raise. Maybe you got a promotion, maybe you got a review, and at the end of the year, you get a bonus or you get an annual increase. What's the first thing that people do once they get that increase? Probably they go get a bigger apartment. Maybe they go buy themselves a new car. Maybe they go out on a dream vacation or they just go on a vacation in general that they didn't need. But for you and for we have to be strategic with our monies. Therefore, when we get increases, or when our financial situation changes and we go up, we typically have to try to not trick ourselves, but continue to remind ourselves that we can live off this set amount of money that we've been living off of, and that the raise didn't even exist. That goes straight into the savings. This reminds me of my own story and how I came up. I started working at Jersey Mike's back when I was in high school, making about $10 an hour. I believe it was a little less than $10, and over time it went a little over $10. But at that time, I kid you not, it felt like I was making or saving more money than I ever did. Whether I was making $80,000, whether I was making six figures, I felt like when I was at Jersey Mike's, that was the most amount of money I was saving because I didn't spend on anything. I paid for gas here and there, and I paid my phone bill, but my housing was covered. My food was covered through Jersey Mike's. I had no other bills at the time because I was living with my parents. I mean, I paid for dinner, and some nights it would be Jersey Mike's. So there was really no expense, and there were no expenses in my life that was taking money, and everything could go to savings outside of, my 10% that I would tithe. But outside of that, all the money went to savings. And it felt like then I was saving at a tremendous rate, and it felt like I could save a lot of money, even though I wasn't making a lot. So think on this. Every raise you get creates a choice. And that choice is, do you want to increase your lifestyle or increase your freedom? And I know which one I'm choosing for the rest of this year. Now, before I jump into my next tip, I want you to take 30 seconds, pause this video if you have to, and take 30 seconds and think, if I got a $10,000 raise tomorrow, would that money go straight into my savings or would I increase my lifestyle? And if the answer is increase your lifestyle, there's some self-reflecting that you have to do, and you need to think upon, okay, how can I change that? How can I fix my lifestyle now to where if any more money comes my way, I can start putting that into my savings as well, and we can increase this and really sprint towards this finish line that we have. Now that you've come back after thinking about that, a lot of times we get caught up in saving for emergencies. And I beg you not to save for just emergencies, but save for freedom. As I mentioned, every increase that you get gives you a choice, and that choice is whether or not you want to increase your lifestyle or increase your freedom. And we should be saving for freedom. There was a great video, or not even video, it was a great speech that Luke from the Outdoor Boys gave around how he was giving a commencement speech at one of the colleges, or I don't remember which one, but he talked about how when things got hard, he had a financial background that he could lean on, or finances that he could lean on, that gave him the choice to be free in his thought and in his decisions around what he wanted to do next in his career. And if he didn't have that opportunity, he would have never had the chance to become a lawyer, and then ultimately he would have never had the chance to become Luke, the outdoor boy, or from the Outdoor Boys, because he ended up quitting his career as a lawyer to pursue his dreams of creating content. And then that blew up, and he ultimately decided to quit that and have his children take it over. But either way, the moral of the story is that when you don't have to be financially bound by things, and you can start to pick careers that make sense for you, that you actually enjoy, and not because you just have to go make a paycheck. You're also able to enjoy your time off. You don't have to work 24/7, never get to spend time with your family or friends and loved ones. You also get the opportunity to try new things. Like, you can pick up on hobbies that may be a little more costly, but you have the financial freedom to do so. And therefore you can become great at other things because you're able to explore. Like, there's so many different freedoms that come when you're not bound by being financially strapped for cash. I think that's another thing. When times get hard, those who have cash on hand and flexibility to do so, they don't have to make those sacrifices or tie themselves down to a certain aspect or to a certain thing because they have to make certain amounts of money. So save for freedom and not for just emergencies. Which leads me to my next point around how to save, and that is to build systems, not motivation. Systems are things that we create ourselves that help us move or push the needle forward. Instead of telling yourself to be disciplined, why don't you create something in the next 6 months that will help you be disciplined, like automating your savings or reviewing your finances every week? Something that is a system that you can continue to lean upon to help you achieve this goal. One quote that I really like is that motivation fades. Systems keep working, and they keep working for you. You ever watched a motivational video and you feel pumped, and then 2 days later you're like, I need to watch another motivational video? That was me. I watched so much Eric Thomas and Inky Johnson. I still do. Those guys are phenomenal. However, that motivation fades and you got to be motivated again because it's not a system that you've created. Systems are built and they're built to last, which is why they're so important. And then the last tip that I will give you, and this is going to be extremely important when it comes to saving for that $10,000, is that if you aren't financially able, or maybe you don't make enough money to put away $1,600 a month once you've paid all your bills and you've covered everything that you need versus your wants, then I would say increase your income while you save. There are so many different opportunities and pathways out there to make money. And let's be real, you aren't going to just come across $10,000 by the end of December. You're not going to just find it laying around. You're not going to hit the lottery. You're probably not going to have someone just dump $10,000 in your lap. So that means you're going to have to work for it. And if that means picking up a second job for between these months of June and December, then that's what it means. My goal is to hopefully utilize my content and content creation to help bring in a second source of income. But I'm also looking at rental properties that I'm going to utilize to increase my savings. And then also my wife and I have put down a budget because we're trying to buy a home in the next year or two. So, or buy another home in the next year or two. So the goal isn't just to save money for the sake of it. I have intentions around my savings. And if that means I have to go out and find other financial ways to make this money, then I will do so. As a provider, I will do so. And you should have that same mindset. So your saving rate matters, but your earning potential matters even more. This is your number one vehicle into saving. Nobody has saved and become wealthy off of interest rates and high yield savings accounts, or putting money in the stock market and letting it just turn over time. That stuff is a slow turn and will take years upon years. You'll probably be at retirement age before you actually make any decent money from it. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that young people make is believing that they have time later, that they can save later. Well, when is later? Later when you make more money, later when life settles down, because that may never come. And 9 times out of 10, later never comes, or almost never comes. So the habits that you build right now will be those same habits that carry you when you do actually start to make more money and when you do start to settle down, or if that ever comes. The habits that you make in this low paying job that you just took need to be the same habits that you make in that high paying job down the road, because I believe that you will have that. I believe that I will have that. We all will have that eventually. So one challenge that I'll leave you with, and I think that can be done right after you watch this video, is that this week, don't stress about the 10,000. Like, keep the 10,000 in the back of your mind. However, I want you to think about the systems that you can create right now today that will help you get to that. Whether that's automating $400 each week to go into a savings account, or $1,600 each month, or $800 every other week. I want you to think about a system that you can create right now that gets you one step closer to that, because it's going to be one system, one habit, one brick that will get us to the goals that we have in mind. And remember, you don't build wealth with one big paycheck. You build it through hundreds of small decisions made over time. Let's get to that 10K. One decision, one habit, one brick at a time. I'll see you in the next one.